Welcome to the Alliance Open podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first Alliance Open podcast. My name is Stefan and I am your host. For those of you that don't know us, the Alliance Open is a Dutch organization consisting out of a great group of guys that decided to start hosting Warhammer 40k tournaments. We started out in 2017 with our very first Rogue Trader tournament, which for Dutch standards was a pretty big success. If I'm not mistaken, we had 40 players. And from that point on, we just grew bigger and bigger. Up to the point where last year we hosted the grand tournament for a grand total of 120 players. And on top of that, not only did we grow in number of players, we have also diversified, where we now work together with other groups of people to host specialist games such as X-Wing, Warhammer Fantasy The Ninth Age, Age of Sigmar, Killteam, Warhammer Underworlds, and so on and so forth. So for those of you that are in or around the Netherlands and are looking to bring their game to the competitive level, I really invite you to take a look at our Facebook page, The Alliance Open, and of course our webpage, armory.net, where you'll find info on our upcoming events, where you can buy the tickets to said upcoming events, and also our custom-made scenery, billboards, dice, tournament trays, and all kinds of other awesome stuff, so definitely go take a look. Now, with the introductions and self-promoting out of the way, let's get to the meat of the program. So for this very first of episodes, I've invited a great number of guys over to come talk about our past Heroes and Heretics event, which is our Warhammer 40k 2000 point team tournament. I attended myself, had a blast, and I'd like to talk with these guys about their experiences to paint a picture for your mind's eye, if you will, of what it's like to join us in one of our Warhammer 40k events. And also I'll be talking to one of the organizers for the Killteam event that's coming up the 30th of March, one of Games Workshop's more popular specialist games. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next segment. I have Jonathan here, and Jonathan is the organizer for our Killteam event. Hello, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yes, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm recovering from your great Heroes and Heretics event, but I'm slowly going back to normal life again.
All right. Before we go on to Killteam, real quick, how did you experience our Heroes and Heretics event?
Oh, it was great. It was great. The 2 versus 2 format is one of my favorite tournament formats. You know, you get to play twice as many opponents, and you always have one of your buddies with you. You know, so it's much more social thing. And yeah, I had a great time. I won 3 battles, which was pretty good, but the first 2 were like 1 victory point in difference between winner and loser. So those close battles are the most fun to play always, as you might know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had a great time as well. Now, of course, we know each other because we do the stream together.
Yes.
And so we are acquaintances, if not friends. And but let's quickly go on to the Killteam. Let's talk about that. So the 30th of March, we have our Killteam event, and you're doing the organization for it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Can you tell us a little bit about the event? What's that's coming?
Yeah. So I've been asked by the Alliance Open to make the rules pack and do the organization for your Killteam event, because all the boys don't really have experience with the game itself, and they know I'm an enthusiast of Killteam and everything around it. So they asked me, would you please come and help, because you know, we need someone on board who knows the game, who's played the game, who knows the rules, so they can make the best rules pack and the most fun event. So that's why I'm gonna do it this year. What was the question again?
No, just in general. So where will the Killteam event be held?
It's gonna be at the Van der Valk Hotel, Schiphol. It's called.
Yep,
it's actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, you're correct.
It's where all the Alliance Open events have been. Where I usually where I've been. It's a great venue. It's in the basement of the Hotel Schiphol, which is part of the Van der Valk chain, near Amsterdam, which is great for me because I live in Amsterdam, and it's almost reminiscent of a ballroom, but then filled with tables with a lot of guys and ladies playing Warhammer or 40,000 and hopefully Killteam as well, and they have a great buffet hall upstairs where we always eat together, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. So, Kill Team. I know it's one of the more popular specialist games from Games Workshop. Now, I personally actually don't know a whole lot about Kill Team. So, could you tell me what's Kill Team and what makes it such a great game that people are so enthusiastic about?
Okay, yeah. Well, some of you might know it, some of you might not. Killteam is, I like to describe it as a 40K, but then bite-sized. So games are played with usually around 3 till about 20 models, depending on which faction you have. And you play a game that's quite fast, quite snappy, which lasts, if you play it nice and quick, between like 40 minutes and an hour. And every faction has like only a basic amount of choices. So I like to think of it as a game where people with a short attention span, like myself, or people who would like to get into the 40,000 hobby and lore, to start out and just get some models on the board and start playing.
All right, so it's looks like you're telling me it's a good way to step into the Warhammer 40K game. It's a great game in its own. It's a little skirmish, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you've got squads versus squads combat, and but also it's maybe a great way to step into bigger games such as Warhammer 40K because it uses a lot of the same rules.
Yeah. So the idea is the same, where you build your own guys and you paint your own guys and you put them on the table with terrain pieces, and the guys actually have to look through the terrain to be able to see each other and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
And but it's slightly for 40,000 players, it's not exactly the same rules. It's the rules have been adapted to better display the fierce man-to-man combat of specialized squads.
Okay, that sounds awesome, man.
Yeah.
So the tournament, it's a what kind of tournament is it? Is it a 1v1, a 2v2? How many rounds? Could you tell me a little
Well,
bit?
we're gonna have 6 battles for the tournament. So if you join, you'll play 6 battles, which will be in the Swish pairing format. So the people who are doing well will play each other, and the people who've been not doing so well will play each other. It's going to be 1 versus 1. Also thinking about having one round a 2 versus 2 round.
Oh, really?
Some in the book are especially trying to mix up a tournament format to have one battle 2 versus 2 instead of just 1 versus 1. I was also playing with the idea of maybe having less games, or less opponents, should I say, and then playing each opponent in a best out of 3 matchup, which would make it a little less luck based, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I was talking to the guys from Alliance Open, and they were like, yeah, it's such a social game, and it's such a great opportunity to meet fellow hobbyists. So why not just, play lots of games against different opponents, So that's why we chose to have more different opponents, and then we'll see how it will affect the ranking.
All
If you
right.
know what.
So it's more instead of playing multiple rounds against the same opponent, we're doing more rounds with
Yeah,
different opponents.
yeah. It's actually, it doesn't deviate too much from a standard tournament format. But I was playing with the idea of having best out of 3, but we
Yeah.
decided to drop that because we want to. Killteam is such a fast game. Let me put it like this: it would be a shame not to use that to our advantage and have more people play against each other and meet each other and talk.
I think that's a great idea as well.
Yeah.
It's always fun to meet lots of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
and get to have a game with them. So
Yeah.
how many people are we expecting at the tournament?
I'm hoping between 14 and 20 would be a very good start.
Oh,
Now, of
that's
course, the sky the sky is the limit, of course, and the more people we can get, the more fun we'll have. But that's what we're aiming for at the moment.
all right. Well, that actually seems like a pretty respectable number. I
Yeah.
mean, 20 players for a skirmish specialist game seems like a good fair number.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if anyone who's listening and knows someone who wants to get into the hobby but doesn't have an army, and you do, maybe give him a lend of 10 or 15 models and send him to the Kill Team tournament.
Yeah, yeah, will do. If I know any players, I will definitely point them towards the Kill Team tournament.
Yeah.
All right. So you had some things you wanted to talk about, like I have here noted down escalation. Could you tell me something about that?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce a slight escalation system into the tournament. Kill Team is a game that's also made to play campaigns, which is a sort of a narrative story played across multiple battles, in which some guys can get hurt, but with escalation, some guys will get more specialized and experience, which will give them more abilities on the battlefield. And I'm trying to get that format of escalation into this tournament, where, let's say, after the third game, some guys can get slightly better compared to the games before it. I'm gonna go slightly technical. You see, in Kill Team, you're allowed to take certain what they call specialists in your little team of dudes, and they have different abilities than their squad mates. And with escalation, they can like increase their abilities slightly. So when you start in the day, all your guys are gonna be quite normal Kill Team guys, and at the end of the day, one or two will be grizzled veterans who've gained more skills in the in the carnage of the tournament. Let's put it
All
like
right.
that.
So it's kind of like a sort of a level up system.
Exactly, a level up system.
Ah, that sounds very interesting. So you're actually a team will get stronger after more rounds.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm at the moment I'm working on a way how to keep that fair and balanced, as well as fun, so everyone can enjoy the tournament as much as possible.
Well, of course, that's always the priority number one.
Yeah.
I also heard that with Kill Team you use a roster of units and you can like change them out during mid game or not mid game but between games.
Yeah, yeah. Between games, like when every game starts, you get to pick your Kill Team. It'll work like this. At the before the tournament, you will send in your what they call command roster, and that's basically around 20 guys that could be in your Kill Team. And then when you play a mission, you get to look at what faction your opponent is and what your goal is in the mission, and then you can hand pick your Kill Team from your command roster, so that you'll have a Kill Team specialized specifically for that mission that you're gonna play.
That's actually a very interesting concept because
Yeah,
I'm primarily a 40k player, and for most people, you need to send in your list beforehand. So you need to kind of create a list that's, ideally is an all-comers list, very
yeah,
balanced. But actually, with this game, you get to specialize more.
yeah,
So before the game begins, you actually get to see, okay, my opponent is bringing this roster, so I could specialize my team to, be able to be better against my opponent's list.
yeah, exactly. But then, of course, it's another tactical layer to the game. If you bring a good all-round command roster that allows you to tailor your Kill Team right, it can give you an advantage on per game.
That sounds really interesting. That's
Yeah,
really a different approach to the
yeah,
game that that I'm used to.
Yeah,
That's very
and
cool.
we're taking a lot of inspiration from the Nova Open, which is I think it's like a convention in the United States that also has a kill team tournament. Forgive me if I have anything about this wrong, but they have a very an interesting rules pack that I'm gonna be inspired by, to say the least, which also allows you to hand pick some objectives for you to accomplish during the game. So not only do you get to pick your own kill team, you sort of get to decide what you want them to do during the game, which can score you some victory points.
All right, so it's kind of like a we've been talking about it before a little bit, but kind of like a sort of Maelstrom deck.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say Maelstrom deck. I compare it more to your objectives deck in Shadespire, if you know what I
All
mean.
right, yeah. Another game I'm not that familiar with, but so it's a basically it's it's a deck that tells you to do certain things, which then
Exactly.
if you accomplish them, they give you victory points.
Yeah, exactly. The difference being this deck is about uh, three cards, and you get to pick which one it is.
All right, all right. So that's yet another layer of customization to the game. So this is
Yeah,
sounding like it sounds like a really tactical game to me.
yeah, yeah. It is, and just because it's short and smaller than Warhammer 40,000 doesn't mean it doesn't have to be tactical. In fact, I believe it's even more tactical than
I
Warhammer
would
40,000.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree that games that use less models usually get more tactical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
However,
That
I do like putting 40 gene stealers against anything else.
of course.
Oh yeah, and what for the people who've been following Killteam and its development, you probably all know that the like a competitive supplement has recently come out called the Killteam Arena, which is a very stripped down version of Killteam, the game, that's specifically for tournaments. However, we're not going to use it word by word. We might take some inspiration from it, but the way we want to run this event is we're going to play the freer style of the game. A big turning point for us was that the terrain in Kill Team Arena is very limited and restrictive, which can be fun if you like to play that way, but we like a beautifully crafted terrain that tells a bit more of a story and that has a bit more ambience to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so you're actually telling me. So yeah, I'm aware that the terrain for Kill Team is very specific. It tells you very specifically where it's supposed to be and how high it's supposed to be, and all those things. But you're saying we're going to bring a little bit more terrain that's more fun to play with, a little bigger, maybe a little more prettier. I mean,
Yeah,
the not to toot our own horn, but the Alliance Open does make it a point for each game, wherever there's terrain, to make that terrain very, very pretty and very. It has a theme to it and
yeah,
things like that, just to enhance the thematic experience of a
yeah.
game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just want the game to also be a story,
Yeah,
And as you can, for people who have been to the Alliance Open tournaments, they know that the terrain is just great and that the tables are spectacular. And even though Kill Team is a smaller game, I want to have that level of immersion in it.
yeah. I
And
think. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I meant to say is I think a lot of people they come there for the experience, and they come there for the theme, and put a lot of effort into their kill teams. I've seen a lot of kill teams online that are just stunningly painted because they don't need to paint as much models.
exactly, exactly. You only have to do about 10 or 20 models depending on your faction, and yeah, you can really spend hours and hours on one guy and he'll be worth it, instead of spending hours on one guy and he'll be one in hundreds, maybe, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's just less of a. I mean, painting big armies can be a burden, and this is less of a burden.
Yeah,
And I think that's why it's such a great game to easily get into. Is you
yeah.
don't need to paint as much models. So so you can take anything from. I mean, it's based on 40k, and you can take anything from 40k and just edit and just use it in your kill team, right? Every army can make a kill team.
Yes. Almost every army can make a kill team. I think all of them. Yeah. Now, of course, you can't take everything from that specific army. It's restricted to infantry and some multi-wound infantry. Oh yeah, for the people who know the commanders supplement, we won't be using that in this tournament. It's our first kill team tournament that we organize, and kill team, the game as a whole, is quite new on the scene compared to like Warhammer 40,000. So we're trying to keep it basic, so everyone who's competing in it will know what's going on, and we won't have any unwanted surprises, should I say, during the tournament.
All right, that sounds great. I think it's going to be a great event. I really hope a lot of people are going to register for the event. We're looking around 14 to 20 players. That's our goal. That would be
Yeah,
really great.
yeah.
So it's Skill Team, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be on the 30th of March. It'll start at 8:30 in the morning, and I do believe it's going to be a 4-hour tournament. If I'm not, is that correct?
Uh, what I have here is we'll probably start the introduction around 9ish, with the first battle starting at 9:30. So that's an hour difference to what you said.
Okay.
And then we'll have 6 battles, and the last battle will finish around 5:45.
Oh,
And
quarter
then,
to six. Oh,
and then we have a little cleanup time, and then we'll have the award ceremony and that kind of stuff. Now, I believe you said the tickets are online. Where are
yes.
they again?
Tickets are available, ladies and gentlemen. You can get them at the Armory, the alliancearmory.net. You'll find it at events, and then you'll click on the Kill Team event. They are available for €27 and 50 cents, and that includes the tournament, and that'll include our great lunch that we have each year. And it's really a great lunch. I mean, it's not just a sandwich; it's a hot and cold buffet. This year we moved to the restaurant upstairs, and with that increased, the choice you have. You really have a lot of things. If you've got your salads, you've got your hot foods, you've got everything you want. It's really great. Um, and we guarantee it'll be a great experience. We have been guaranteeing it for 3 years, and we had stunning positive feedback from everyone who's loving it. And
Yeah.
and we'd like to put that also into the Kill Team event. So definitely subscribe if you like Kill Team, because it's going to be a great day. There's going to be other events as well, so you can come there and play your Kill Team event, and even check out some other events. You can socialize, talk to people. I mean, it's also very social and very fun. Everybody's very amicable, and we're really
Yes.
looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you said that beautifully.
Any last word, Jonathan?
I think we have had everything. We had a question from our viewers that asked if we were going to have a painting competition, a best painted award for the Kill Team. The only answer that I can give now, if it's up to me, we will, but we have to see if it's feasible with the organization. But we'll work hard to make it so.
Yeah, of course we'll have prize support, of course, you guys. How much kind of depends on how many players sign up, but there'll definitely be some prize support. Now, if the best painted is included in that, I'm a big painting best painting score fan, but it's up to the other part of the organization to decide. But yeah. So thanks for your bid, Jonathan.
Hey, no thanks, man. Oh yeah, and this week, at the end of this week, we'll release the rules pack. That's what I want to say.
So this week people can read up what they're getting themselves into.
Exactly.
All right, that's very good to hear. So, Jonathan, thank you for your information. It's always a pleasure to talk to you,
Thank you very much.
and I'll talk to you maybe after the event. We can have a little post-event discussion on how it went.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right,
Good
bye.
luck.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Well, everybody, I'm here with two good buddies of mine, Faiz, hello,
Hello.
and
Hello.
Michel, my orc comrade.
Hey.
And we're here today to talk about our past Heroes and Heretics event. That is the Alliance Open Warhammer 40k doubleheader, the team tournament that we had last Saturday. But before we go into that, a few new things from Games Workshop I'd like to talk with you about. Did you guys happen to see the new Chaos models?
Yeah, I saw the spider, man. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Did you see
I
also
like it so much.
they announced
I
the new Abaddon model?
Really? Today?
Now, well, they teased it in one of
Yeah,
their
okay.
videos.
Yeah, they teased it, but they didn't show it yet. Oh, they did show parts of it, but did you guys see the new possessed models? Oh,
No,
yeah, yeah.
Oh
my god. They are almost as good as Forge World's Galvolbach models for the for the Word Bearers 30k range.
Yeah.
They look really, really nice.
Okay,
It's,
I haven't actually
the
seen
only thing that they need now is rules that match the models.
them. Yeah, because I know Chaos have in their codex they have possessed rules, right? But they just aren't that great, right?
No, they really lack like all the Chaos power armor options. They they really lack something to be worth considering taking them in this edition.
Yeah, I know. The kind of Now I remember now. They're the kind of like the Chaos Marines that have demonic parts,
Yeah,
sprouting out of them, and they have some. They are kind of good in close combat, but not really, and they are very expensive and still not very resilient. So they die pretty.
that's really the problem that once you want to get that unit up to a size where you say, okay, if I put this in combat, it's going to be effective.
Yeah.
Like a large G0 unit. Let's just put it right out there with one of the top infantry combat units in the game.
Yeah.
Or a large blob of orc boys. Well, that unit is going to that possession is going to cost you a lot of points, and it's still not going to be up there where they need to be.
No, they also just lack a good, way to get them in combat.
Yeah, and then they're not fast enough. You lose too much when you lose models because it's still going to be a relatively small unit, and there's just no way of getting them there.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem with some of these combat units. It's just the lack of being able to get them into combat.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much their biggest problem. But the most interesting model to me is that big spider thing.
Yes.
It looks awesome. It reminds me so much of Doom.
I wanna take one of the chaos spiders and then one of the goblin spiders and just bash them together
Yeah,
into one
exactly.
spider.
It looks like they took a Ragnarok spider and just put chaos armor on it.
Yeah.
You
But
think
I just want to put. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think I just want to put some of the Ragnarok spider's legs onto the body of the other one, and then just like have some kind of mutilated spider that they actually put parts on and stuff.
Do you think, judging by the base size, do you think it's as big as in the Ragnarok spider? No, I can't really tell from the picture I'm looking at.
I'll make it as big.
I have no idea how big it really is.
No, I don't know.
What do you think it does?
Well, they said it's a ranged support unit, but all I could see on the spider was two heavy stubbers.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
If that is the case, I would say it does not enough.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm looking at it. It's pretty much a frontal picture, and I can see two gun barrels sticking out, and it's hard to say what it is. It kind of looks like stubbers. It might be autocannons, maybe. I don't know. maybe less cannons you could put on there. Maybe you could, swap them out for better weapons. But it also looks pretty tasty in combat if I look at it.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a combat unit, and then I read the text and I was like, it looks more like a combat unit, right?
Yeah.
Something that crawls up close to your enemies and then just kind of ties them down. And
I think it's just that when they started doing the Chaos models again, they had the design team play Doom.
Yes.
Which is always a good thing. And then they made some models.
I mean, if you can take any
then they
game,
just shoved them over to the rules team, and they said, "Yeah, make this work." And they were like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, what better inspiration than Doom for your game, right? And then there's the what I assume is the new Mutilator model. I mean, it's like a very big hulking demon. It looks like a big Terminator.
No, I think it might be
Obliterator. Was the new Obliterator.
Yeah, I think it's Obliterators.
Oh, what did I say then? Mutilator.
You said Mutilator.
No, that's the combat version. I meant the Obliterator. Yeah, because it has all the different guns, so it has to be an Obliterator, right? Is that confirmed or?
No,
I think it's confirmed as an Obliterator.
I mean, what else could it be?
It couldn't be anything else.
I think they confirmed it.
And actually, I think it looks a little bit like an Hellbrute, but it's too small, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, we already have a Hellbrute model, right? This has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
This has to be
probably. Yeah, it's probably an Obliterator.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be great. I like the Obliterator rules. I think they're very cool to use.
Yeah, Obliterators are a staple unit for Chaos. Very
yeah,
solid.
Exactly. Yeah, and then having cool models to match that is really awesome.
So and then there's also the new Chaos models. You've already seen them in the boxed game. I forget the name.
Raptor.
Black Fortress.
Yeah.
Oh
so
yeah, that one.
You've seen them in there as well, and now they're also in this preview for new Chaos units. Do you think these will be the staple new Chaos models? Like they will just replace all of the old ones with these ones?
Not really sure if they will replace all the old ones, but like the Chaos range, it's one of their oldest model ranges that they currently run for 40k, I believe. So those models certainly did need some love and some updates. Like when you look at the new digital artwork for Chaos, it all looks really cool, and it's kind of heavy metal mixed with demonic stuff. And it's awesome. And when you looked at the models in comparison to all the other new models, they're just not there anymore.
No, I mean, but these look fantastic. I mean,
yeah, I mean these new models, they're awesome. It's like even an Ultramarine player would consider switching to Chaos now.
Yeah,
I'm actually considering it.
Yeah, I'm very tempted as well. Do you know what my thought was like? Would these be like the height of Primaris Marines, or would these be the height of normal Space Marines? I mean,
I think they're gonna be normal Space Marines, especially because Primaris Marines are supposed to be like unconvertible to Chaos, but they might do something in the lore where Primaris Marines can actually become Chaos.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say Chaos. In the fluff, actually, Chaos Marines are much more, badass actually than normal Marines, because they've been alive for far longer. They've been in the warp. So they are supposed to be actually more dangerous than normal Space Marines, and that never really was reflected in the game. So I just thought that with these new models, do you think maybe they'd get some new rules where they actually might be better? I mean, it's been a large topic for discussion for Marines in general, not just the Chaos one, but the, Loyalist Marines as well. It's that, their in-game rules don't really reflect how tough they actually are right now, because they die very easily. And, that's why people struggle with them. And that's why you see, Primaris Marines more on the field than normal ones. Although with the new Bolter rules, you might see more ones. But do you think that with these new models, there might come some new rules for the standard Chaos Marine?
Well, I hope so. I think that for GW rewriting both the Marine and Chaos Marine codex, to make those models reflect a little bit more what they are in the game. Like when you take a knight, not everybody likes playing with or against knights, but a knight is supposed to be this hulking monstrosity that just tramples and blasts its way across, and it just lays out utter devastation until the moment that it finally explodes. And in the game, it does that. You can't argue with that. Even the shooting knight in combat is still a devastating monster. And then when you take the regular Space Marines or the regular Chaos Space Marines, it's just they almost die just as easily as Hormagaunts.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's kind of
You know?
ridiculous.
Yeah, so they're popping like flies, and I think that's also the mechanic where these are all ultra elite trained warriors, and they're supposed to be very versatile in what they can do. But on the field, that entire army has to be clustered around one or two characters to give that its reroll, and it just becomes, a very boring blob. It's almost as static as as a gun line or a Tau army, which now even are more mobile because of the new rules. So
I think their main problem when they die too fast is because they only have toughness 4 and 1 wound, right? The normal Marines, and the Primaris Marines only have 2 wounds, which is not enough.
No.
Because there's so much damage to weaponry out there.
Exactly.
And so it dies
if you
so
if you
quickly.
read the fluff, a Space Marine has 2 hearts, so it should have 2 wounds, just like flat. And
That's
then
nice logic. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a Space Marine, when it's standing there, it only has 1 attack. So these guys are supposed to outpunch Tyson like it's nothing, and they only have 1 attack.
And I'm reminded of the did you guys read the Eisenhorn series? Did you read that?
Yeah,
No.
I did.
I'm reminded of a part in the story. I can't remember exactly where, but Eisenhorn and his servitor buddy, I forget his name. They actually stumble across one Chaos Space Marine, and the book it goes pages on about how they instantly fear this guy because so obviously he's so immensely dangerous, and that a very big part they eventually confront this Chaos Space Marine, but. A very big part of it is actually trying to overcome their fear to actually, confront this guy. And to me, that just, described exactly how a Space Marine should be. This very imposing and a Chaos Space Marine even more so because he's just warped by chaos and looks that much more dangerous, and the game just doesn't reflect it. Like they have big issues, and that just takes away from the feeling that they should have. Like wherever Chaos Space Marines are, you should be afraid, and now nobody's really afraid of a bunch of Chaos Space Marines just walking around with their bolters. Right?
It's like, it's that fluff player, I'm going to trample him 20-0 and then buy him a drink because I feel so bad about it.
Yeah.
I think the worst part is when you pit 10 Space Marines against 10 Orc Boys in combat, the Orc Boys are going to win, right? That's not supposed to happen.
Nope, they will probably win 75%.
That's because you haven't read the Orc fluff, Faiz. Because Orcs always win in combat.
Okay. This is true. That is fluff.
This is true.
This is clout. This is true.
But
I've heard so many people crying for point drops across the Space Marine range, but I don't think point drops are going to do anything for them. That's just going to make them a mass army. And I think they shouldn't be a mass army. They should be an elite army. So I think they should have higher toughness, higher wounds, better save, maybe a 2 of armor, maybe 3 wounds each or 2 wounds each, or an invul save, something like that. They don't need point drops. They just need to be more tough, I think.
Like if you say that if you go over the fluff, they have 2 hearts. Their blood clocks super easy, so like they can lose a limb but still live. They say, okay, I'm at the very basic, every Marine, I'm going to give him at least 2 wounds and a 6 of feeble pain, just to reflect that. Then in combat, those guys are really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they should have at least 3 attacks per model base, like a tactical Marine. It should have 3 attacks. And then their armor, it's supposed to be ultra tough. So okay, you can keep the 3-up armor safe, fine. But then just say they have a 5-up invulnerable save as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want them to have 2 wounds, 5-up armor, or 5-up invul. And then,
Yeah.
like, I think that would solve so much. And I don't understand why they don't have it, because basically every army out there has invul saves across all their models, like, or a way to get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
it's a different system. But I mean, this is we're doing a bunch of wish listing now, and I
Yeah,
don't
of
want I
course.
want to get too far into that rabbit hole. There's one more
no,
model.
we can do that. We can do that in another podcast where we've all done our homework on the subject, and then we can just say, okay, this is how we think that this codex should look like.
Yeah, that's actually a cool new podcast.
Yeah,
Stefan,
well,
do it for the next one.
yes, I'll jot it down for the next one. So there's also 2 new models. I take a quick look at. There's the new Primaris. I think it's a Primaris Psyker model.
Yeah.
He's like holding his head like he's got a migraine, which is very apt. He probably just miscast.
I've seen photoshops where they put like a fedora on his head, and then it looks like he's tipping his fedora.
Oh, marvelous. And then there's new scout models with sniper rifles, which look very badass. They are full. They seem to have full Space Marine gear on, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think they're Primaris scouts, man. They look a bit like Primaris Marines, but then as scouts.
Yeah, that's very cool. So, do you think they would replace the standard scout?
I don't think they're gonna remove the old range just yet.
No, I mean in the game. I mean, people take a lot. You know, people take whenever they use Space Marine armies, they take scouts for troops, and because they are really good for their points, right? They perform their role very well. You think Primaris Marines, they would obviously be tougher. I'd wager they have 2 wounds. Do you think they would replace the standard scouts?
I think depends on the points they're gonna cost, because the effectiveness from scouts comes from the fact that they're the cheapest unit in the codex, so you can fill a battalion really easy. And if these guys are going to be above 100 points for 5, then I don't see them replacing old scouts. But if they're going to be maybe like 80 for 5 and then 2 wounds each with a good sniper, then yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, do you think their sniper rifle would actually be better? I mean, Primaris Marines have the better bolt gun. Do you think these snipers would be better than the standard?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to do, I hope they're going to do 2 shots. Or maybe it's going to be like 1 shot and then strength 5 instead of strength 4. But I hope they're going to be better, because otherwise I don't see why you would take them.
Yeah, that'd be a shame if they would just lose to the scout that's already there. So you might see them in a casual game where people like to field Primaris Marines, but I'm kind of curious to see what role they might take in a competitive setting.
I think, however, the Psyker, I think that's going to be pretty useful. I think it can get up close really easily, or at least when I read the rules, he's like a stealthy Psyker. But with the Primaris or with the psychic powers that Space Marines have, they have the 6-inch bubble to ignore invul saves, right? But the problem with Space Marines right now is that they can't get a Psyker up close really easily. But if he can get up close, then I think that might be really useful. So we're gonna see, man.
Oh, very interesting. That's a very interesting point. Yeah, he has like camouflage cloaks on, so he's like a scout psyker.
Yeah. They also say in the little text below, they say that he's like in the front of the army in the vanguard, and he's leading the troops to the front in a stealthy manner. So
interesting.
I think it's really interesting. Yeah.
All right. So that's the new models. Also, of course, a very big thing that happened is the Gene Stealer Cult book came out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys, did you read any of that? Or I mean, myself, I've heard some things. Obviously, Gene Stealer Cults before 8th edition were already pretty good because they had good deep striking abilities. And now with the index, even they have had some success. If you look at tournaments across seas, but also here in Europe, people bringing at least Gene Stealer Cult detachments with them, and they still had some of their ambushing rules, and they seem to, in a small way, but still have some success. Do you think now with the Codex, they will be a very good meta army, or will they? Where do you think these guys will be?
Well, I actually have the book.
Do you?
I do.
All right.
I got it real early. and we've already scrolled across it. I think the book is really good in that most of the things in that book really represent that Gene Stealer cult army. It's that army that's it's that snake that's been lying and waiting, patiently awaiting its prey, and then when it's time to strike, it strikes. It neglected its hunger and everything else. It just it bides its chance and it took it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also going to be that kind of army. Like we've already heard rumors and we've had point leaks and stuff like that. So we've had something to work with before the book for a couple of days now. And then there's people talking about spamming the bikes and or doing a unit with 20 hand flamers. And I think that's a viable option. But the real marvel in this book is that when you've really planned your own list, like I'm going to ambush these units and use them in this situation, and in that matchup I'm going to pull these tricks out of my sleeve. Like for that kind of player who's like that,
they're very versatile.
This book is going to be a gem because it allows you a lot of those options. And like with the orc book as well, like everything you can do in this book, it has something useful there. So you can really do a lot of things. You can include so many tools in that army to do nifty tricks with it. There's cool strategies in them. I don't think that Gene Stealer cults are going to dominate the meta per se. Though any Gene Stealer cult list will do very well on the new progressive scoring missions, which is also a good thing.
Mm.
But they will still have some bad matchups. Like
well, I was going to say, that's a good thing, right? They shouldn't be this army that just comes out the gates and just, flat out destroys everything it sees. It should have some matchups that it's going to struggle against, or else there wouldn't be much, there wouldn't be much competition in.
No, exactly. Like, yeah, go ahead.
I think in the first few weeks, the Gene Stealer Codex might do really well in tournaments because it's got all these tricks that you were talking about, Michel. And also the deployment is very different from anything we've seen before. So I think people will have to adjust to the way they play. But once people have like a grasp of what they can do, I think you will start finding counter lists, or at least people will know how to play against them. And that's when they drop down a tier, I think. Or at least
it's more that the cult ambush, the new thing. It's not really that big because the only thing that allows you to do is deploy a part of your army within your own deployment zone, and it can't be shot at until you reveal it.
Exactly.
But
so a big thing that people feared previous edition with Gene Stealer cults was that they could just pop up, and they had a few rules. You'd have to do a roll off, and if you roll high enough, you could move like d6 inches. You could get off multiple charges because they had these characters that allowed you to reroll and pick the highest. I believe somewhere along those lines. And if I'm correct, they don't really have that right now in the way that they can't do it with every unit. As I understand the rules, you put down those blip tokens, those tokens you get with the book, but you have to put them in. You have to either put them in your own deployment zone, and you have to reveal them at the end of the first movement phase, if I'm correct, or you get the choice to just regular deep strike them.
But I think you can put half of your army in deep strike and then deploy half your army in blips. And then
can you?
I think so. I don't know. I haven't read the codex, but I think you can.
Yeah, but you can deep strike half your army with any army as long as the models allow that.
I was going to say you have to still have half your army on the board to be able to deep strike the other half. So you can't have your changed. Okay, yeah. So they can't just start the game with nothing on the board. That would be rather powerful. I think in some situations, but they do have. I mean, I've seen some stratagems, right? Where they come out of hiding, and then for 3CP they can have that rule that they had previously, right? Where they either shoot immediately in the movement phase, and then they get to shoot again in the shooting phase, or they get to move d6 inches and still be able to charge. So they have those shenanigans, but it's not every unit. It's not.
No, it's not army wide. You can do it at one unit, and then you can do it if they arrive from underground or if they arrive from called ambush.
Yeah.
Perfect ambush.
So how do you think they would? I mean, obviously they are a kind of horde army. They do take control of the board.
They are a horde army. Not kind of, not slightly.
Michel.
They are definitely a horde army.
Okay.
Michel, are they gonna be big blobs of models per unit, or are they gonna be super many units but small units? Like back in 7th, they were like you took like 45-man units. Are they gonna be the same, or are they gonna be like 20-man units now?
I think it's going to vary. I think that this is one of those books where it doesn't really help the player if they copy a net list. Like, we all know about the meta. We all know which lists are powerful, and everybody can copy those lists. But not everybody is going to be as proficient with those lists as those people who wrote the lists themselves, and they have a real grasp or idea what they want to do with that list in what situation. Because every choice you make in your army, it's there for a reason. It's not just there because it's there. And I think with the Jinso Occult book, that's going to be even more so, because you really like that cult uprising. You really have to meticulously plan what you're going to do in what situation. When you need your mining lasers to ambush and pop something, or that demo drive-by with your bikes, or when you need that big combat unit to put pressure on one part of the battle so that you can draw attention to that side and then gain control of the other side of the battlefield whilst your opponent is dealing with that. Those kind of things. So I think you really want to make a mix. You want to have you really want to have several aspects in that army to deal with those aspects. To do those kind of things. So it's going to be really interesting. Like, I think that this book, like for a lower tier or even a middle tier player, it's not going to be that interesting as a tournament choice, because they're not going to get those results out of there. Like there are
the units are still
play
weak.
themselves. Yeah, the units are still very weak, and
I think it's also a very unforgiving army, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you think that when you have over 100 models that losing stuff doesn't matter, but it really does hurt, and it's exactly that. I don't think this is going to be a forgiving army, but I think that
especially because I think you're toughness 3 across the board, right? Most of your units are going to be toughness 3, I think.
Yeah. Like everything you have, it's almost like an elder army. It can put out a lot of hurt, but it can also crumble really hard. I think it's going to be a really cool army to play with and against. But if you want to be a Jinso Occult player, you really, really, really have to dig in deep and get your strategies right, because otherwise this book is not going to be very nice to you.
Yeah. And that's the reason why you see a lot of armies that are very difficult to play, and that's where very good players arise and actually, win tournaments with them. I really think this is one of those armies. I think Faiz is right in saying that, at the beginning when they hit the tables, they will have that surprise factor, people not really knowing exactly what they do, and so they will have a lot of gotcha moments. And then when, as time passes, people will get more familiar with it and will know how to react to those things. And
Yeah, exactly.
it's at that point where I think the really good players who really know what they're doing, it's kind of like an Eldar army where really have to know you really have to know what you're doing, because Eldar as well die really quickly if you make a few mistakes. And I think this is the same kind of army. I think it will operate differently because it's a horde army, so it just takes the board, and then it has those specialist units where you really have to be crafty about when and how you use them. So how do you think they would eventually, ultimately, if you do well with them, they are going to encounter the ballbuster lists, let's say the Astra Militarum and Castellan combo, or the Eldar lists? How do you think they would fare against those?
I think they're going to
think that-
be.
No, you go
You
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think against Castellans and Astra, I think they're going to do really great. I don't see Knights as a big threat anymore. They're still decent. They're still okay, but I think there's too many lists that can counter them. And I think the Gene Stealers have their own way of countering it. Combine that with the fact that I think Knights lack very much in anti-horde. I think they're not going to be much of a problem. I think Eldar, that's going to be, depends on the players, I think, and on the army you take. But Eldar are really fast, and I think Gene Stealers, their strength is also in that they're pretty fast, I think, or I think they can take the board really quickly. But I think Eldar can kind of counter that with their own fast playstyle. So we're gonna see how that turns out. I think what's going to be a cool matchup is going to be Orcs against Gene Stealers. That's going to be cool.
Well, any matchup with Orcs is going to be cool, to be honest.
That's true. But it completely, like, if Orcs take first turn, right, and they crowd the board, then the Gene Stealers really can't do much anymore. But I think it's the same the other way around as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Michel, what do you think how would they do against the top medalists?
Well, I think that with Eldar, like for me, it doesn't really matter what army I'm playing myself. I always enjoy playing against Eldar because once you play at the higher level, your list is going to have. You've thought about playing Eldar before you wrote your list, so you will have some options in dealing with that. And that Eldar is really fast. It can do a lot of damage, but it also dies. So once Eldar players start losing chunks of their army, it snowballs really quickly, and they're going to lose initiative. So I think that the Gene Stealers will be able to deal with Eldar, and Eldar will be able to deal with Gene Stealers. So it will become a very technical and positional game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. You say it better.
I know that's what you meant, Faiz.
And that's going to be it. With the Knights, like if you take a pure Knight army, I think they will be able to deal with that. But most top armies are going to be able to deal with a pure Knight army because the army is just a bit too one-dimensional. But then if you take a large guard army with that one Castellan in it, or that one Knight, then that army also will have a lot of firepower, so it's going to be able to just tear through chunks of the Jinsu cult army. So it's going to be a bloodbath across the board. But then if you in that guard army, if you also add some custodes or some smash captains, you go to the really bad soup lists, or really bad. The lists are good, but
we know.
Very uninteresting armies.
Yeah.
Because those lists really do play themselves. So if you're not familiar what you should do, and you're starting as a tournament player, copy one of those lists and you'll be fine. You won't win everything, but you're going to be fine because
that list is naturally very strong just because the Castellan is a complete powerhouse, and then you have the models to screen him and also take over parts of the board.
Exactly, but it's also going to be very boring because every deployment is going to be the same. Every game is going to be the same.
Yeah, we know. But I don't want to get too far into how boring the Castellan card list is. Look, before we move on,
I think that's going to be a tough matchup for the Jinsu Cults for sure. And then if you take it like against the orcs, there are a couple of builds for the orcs. And I think it's going to be interesting because like the G-Steel cults, only the acolytes, they're dirt cheap. The pure acolytes, they're 7 points per model, and they come with a rending claw, and they have 3 strength, 4 attacks base. That's without
Whoa.
taking any of the cult locusts, any of the cult creeds, whatever it's called now. Those models are going to hit really hard.
They're basically orcs.
They're basically orcs, except that they naturally, because you can take a cult icon in those units, they reroll the ones to hit.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah.
And then they have a rock saw, which is AP -2, strength ×2, flat damage 2.
Oh, that's very good as well. So that's 3 attacks of those things.
3 attacks
very-
of those things, but you can take 2 of those for every 5 models in the unit, and they're 10 points apiece, and they don't give you -1 to hit.
That's
and now,
very good.
Patriarch or Primus is nearby, those models will hit on a 2+, re-rolling the ones.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
all of a sudden, those G-Seals are really going to kick the crap out of whatever they charge.
Yeah, they're very versatile. They have a number of attacks to deal with hordes, and they also have some power, good power weapons to deal with vehicles and stuff like that. Look, before we move on, because we do have to move on.
I've got a nice bridge into 2v2, man.
All right, but before I'll let you have that bridge.
Okay.
I'll let you cross that one. But I do want to know, because it has been spoiled, and everybody, thought it was a really cool model. The Nexos, the guy that looks at the top-down screen of the Games Workshop headquarters.
GWHQ.
Yeah. What does it do?
I'll go to his page.
Yeah.
I'll go to his page.
I just wanted to know, because it is a really cool model.
Interesting. Just go and buy the book, Stefan.
Yeah, I will, but as of this point, I don't
The
have
Nexus.
it. So yeah.
Okay, so when you set this model up, you can replace one of your cult ambush markers. So that's like, yeah, okay. And then if you or your opponents spam the command point on the 6-up, you regain that command point. But then if you have a Primus or a Clamavus in your army, you can add 1 to that result.
So it's a 5.
Oh wow, that's pretty
So
nice.
he's basically that guard captain with a Curse Aquila.
Oh, that's actually.
But he
pretty good.
doesn't need. You don't spend a relic or a warlord trade on him then for it.
No, he's an elite's choice.
Oh,
So you
that's
just
really good.
take him automatically. So everyone
Yeah.
takes it.
Yeah.
Basically. Wow.
Hey, how
That's
many points? How
actually
many
really-
points is he? Do you have the points there?
He's out with an auto pistol, so that doesn't cost any points. Let's just see. Elites. There's a lot of elites. He's 50 points.
50.
Wow. That's
he's
auto
a
take.
character.
I'd pay 100 points maybe.
Yeah, that's auto take. You're gonna
Yeah,
see him in every
I
army.
think that he's nice, but with the new nerf on regaining command points.
Yeah, but it's still on a 5+. You
Yeah.
get 1 command point back every turn. It's just useful. Like in 5 turns,
I think
you
get.
get
Yeah,
5 CP back. Like
It is useful, but I don't think that having command points is going to be that difficult for the Jinsular cult, because like every army is going to have at least 18 command points.
well, of
Yeah.
course, but they
It's
still spend a
easy
lot
to
as well.
make a triple brigade with this army, or a triple battalion, or even
Guys,
2 battalions in the brigade. You can
Yeah,
do
I
it
think-
because they're cheap.
I think 1 bat, one battalion, 1 brigade, and then maybe like a guard battalion or something, or maybe Tyrannid battalion.
Eh, yeah, well, we'll see. Look,
Anyway, I've got a
now
nice.
we are at the start of the river, and there's a
Yeah.
bridge, and Faiz is going to help
Yeah,
us
okay,
cross
okay.
it. So it's
So
up
I
to
want
you.
to ask Michel one thing. There is a stratagem, I think, in your codex, in the Genestealer codex, that says you roll off against your opponent's model, and then you add leadership, right? And then every
Psychic
time he
power.
loses, or it's a psychic power, right?
Yeah.
And then every time he loses, he gets a mortal wound, and you roll off again. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what if you take a 2v2 tournament, and one of you takes Gene Stealers with that psychic power, and then some leadership negating abilities, and then the other one takes Eldar with Hemlocks and Dead Jesters and Harlequin shit and whatever to drop leadership, and you just bring one unit down to such a low leadership that he just can't win it anymore. So you take a Patriarch who has standard leadership 10, and then you
but
go
it's
against a
only a
knight.
single model, so you're
Yeah, of
really,
course,
really,
of course.
really going to kill one guardsman really hard.
Yeah, but imagine doing it against a knight though. How fun would that be? Just you drop his leadership and then suddenly he's just dead. Sounds so
Yeah,
fun.
that would be very funny because every dead knight is a good knight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not gonna
Let's
be,
just see.
it's not
Mental
gonna be
onslaught.
strong.
That's the one you want.
But that's what I want
Uh,
to take. That's what I want to take next year to the Heroes and Heretics.
Yeah.
My buddy came up with this list or with this idea, and we were just in love. We both said it's not going to be a top contender, I think, but it's going to be so much fun when you pull it off once.
Yeah,
So,
I think you can pull it off really easily every time.
yeah, but you need to go against knights or big units.
Yeah,
Like, it's
well, yeah,
easy
just one
to
big
get
model.
Sigurd. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
So let's go. That is a nice segue, by the way. It's
Right.
ridiculous, and
I
it's
know.
only the kind of thing you can do when you have, team tournaments. So
Yeah, exactly.
let me I did an introduction of the tournament. Let me do it briefly again. So we had our Heroes and Heretics tournament last Saturday, and it was a bunch of fun. I attended myself. I was with Michel. We were a team, and then Faiz was also there. With whom did you play?
I was playing with Marijn. He's also the guy who came up with this idea for the leadership list.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
All right, so it was a 2,000 point team tournament, 3 rounds, missions that had Eternal War and Maelstrom. There were a few funny things, a few things like one, you'd have 2 players and one could only do the Eternal War and one could do only the Maelstrom. So you had to have both had your job. The Heroes and Heretics is a little bit more of a casual tournament. It's very fun. A lot of people came bringing a lot of armies with models that they normally don't get to bring, and that's very fun to do. And I just wanted to talk to you guys with your experiences. I'd like to start with you, Faiz. Could you just tell us about the games you played, the armies you brought, and highlights?
Right. Okay. So I had a great day again. AO tournaments are always so much fun. I took a full Harlequin list. I usually bring my bike on 2K. I usually bring my bikes and then add Eldar to that. But for 1K, I just took the Eldar out and just took troops and made a battalion with some bikes and stuff. It wasn't a top tier army, I think, but it was really fun to play. And then my buddy, he took Atmac with like a lot of small units, and then the Cataphon destroyers with the new Vigilus stratagems, which makes them fucking OP. And then first round, we were up against 2 brothers. They weren't as experienced. I think this was their first tournament, but they were really nice guys, and they had actually quite a decent list, I think. They brought Necrons and Eldar, like lots of Necron destroyers, and then the Eldar took Shining Spears and Rangers and some other stuff I can't really remember. I think that battle we went equal for about 2 or 3 turns, but they couldn't handle our firepower, and then they just died at the end. After 5 turns, they were gone from the board, unfortunately. But it was a really fun battle with really nice guys. Then the second battle, we let's see. So we won the first one 20-0. Then the second battle, we came up against 2 guys who were there for the first time at an AO event as well. But they hadn't painted most of their army, so CJ borrowed them a lot of his stuff.
Oh, we played those guys the night before.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they
that
had
was-
Knights and Eldar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. They were fun. They were nice guys.
They were.
Yeah. So the elder player, he hadn't painted half of his army, and then CJ went, you can't really do this, and then he borrowed a lot of his own Eldar out to the guy, which is really nice, I think, of CJ.
Yeah. CJ being one of the organizers for people.
Yeah,
that don't
yeah,
know CJ.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So we went up against them. It was a really, really tight battle, really nice. They were kind of new into the scene, but you could notice that they were really they had a competitive mentality, which I think is great. So I want to see them go to more tournaments. the first 3 rounds again, we went kind of equal, and then we took out enough of their army that we could get ahead really, really quite a bit. And then we ended up winning 19-1, which was nice. So I think they took a Castellan, 2 Helverins for one guy, and then the elder player took like Doom Farseer and another Farseer, and then a Warlock, Wave Serpent with Raid Blades in there. The Raid Blades didn't do much because we blew up the Serpent really early. Yeah, it was a fun game. And then we came into the third game, and it was like we were now at 39 points out of 40. We were the highest rank there, I think, at that point. And we came against fucking Justin and what was his name again? God, I forgot. But he runs the store in Amersfoort, I believe, the Games Workshop in Amersfoort. And Jimmy, that's it. I think Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy Spore. Yeah, that's the guy. And they took the biggest shit list ever. And
yeah.
They're nice. They're really nice guys, and we had a fun battle. And we all bought beers and we bought cashews, and it was really fun. But their list, yeah, we bought cashews.
Faiz, we already gave you the nickname Cat Weasel, which is like the most homo guy out there. Yeah. I can imagine one tournament, you know, where Faiz is just there and he's brought a metal trash can and he's just grilling chestnut chestnut nuts. Everybody is selling them as it goes along. I love you. Fun. Know that.
I love you too, Michel. And you too, Stefan. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
So their list, right? I'm gonna tell you what their list was. It was like the usual 3 characters that Nurgle takes, like the Sloppity Bilepiper and stuff, and then the Nurgle 3. And they took 90 Plague Bearers. And that was just 1k of their army. And then the other 1k was, I think, 35 Gretchen, 25 Ludas. What? Yeah, they took a 3.
Oh, no, it's at no surrender with no fortifications. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Heroes and Heretics is fine, I think. So they took 90 Plague Bearers and the 3 and 3 characters. And then 25 Ludas, 35 Gretchen, Weird Boy, and then a bunch of the Orc bikes. And it was just hell. And I think they seized us. I can't remember, but I believe they seized us. At least they took first turn, and when Plague Bears
the power of the Lutas.
Yep. Yeah, well, if you take first turn as Plague Bears, you just take the board, and then we couldn't physically get to the Lutas anymore, and they were just
it's game over at that point.
Yeah, it's game over.
Man.
Yeah, I mean that list. Their team was called the Stinky Kids.
Yeah, and they were Stinky Kids.
They won the tournament with 86 points, 5 points above the second placed Amsterdam's Empire. The list was built to win. I mean, it was the Plague Bears taking over the board, and then deal with them. You can't. And then the Luda's just shooting everything. It was a very nasty list, and
I think
I'm not surprised it won.
No, me neither. I respect the list. Actually, when the list documents came online, I was going through the list and I was like, oh, these are all fine and fun lists, and then I came across them, and I instantly made a screenshot. I sent it to Justin, the guy who played it, and I told him, "You're a dick."
Yeah.
That's just a few days before.
It's not. Look. It's a tournament. It's a hardcore tournament list.
Of course.
It's as hardcore as you can make it with a team tournament setting, right? So
I think even on 2K, this would do really well.
Yeah, probably. Everybody feels like it's a more casual tournament, and for the most part, it is. But
it
of course,
certainly was for us.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. But some people will still bring their competitiveness, and that's okay. You'll always have that.
It's like if you make this equation, you say you know what? You're going to participate in a chess tournament, but you're not allowed to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
Come on, come on.
that's it. It's okay, right? It's
Or are you going
That's
to say,
fine.
you know what? I'm going to play in a chess tournament, but if I lose a game, it sucks.
I'm not gonna bring my queen
Yeah, I'm not going to break my queen.
and knights or rooks or whatever you want to call it.
I'm only gonna take my pawns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
have. I have.
I highly respect the guys, and I think the list was so well thought out. I think it's they took two armies that both had a clear weakness, and they filled up their own weaknesses. Kind of, they I think that's really respectable. And they are really nice guys, but the list was so annoying to play against. But other than that, had a really great game against them as well. So I had three really great games. And then and then at the end you had the raffle, right? And I won a game mat at the raffle. So thank
There
you
you
so
go.
much, AO, for that. That was so cool.
You are welcome. Yeah,
You
that's
won the game, Matt.
Yeah, I won the game mat, man.
Now that brings me back to the homo aspect of you. Are you going to use it to play games or to sleep under?
and eat cashews.
actually, yesterday I was playing a game on my game mat, on my new one, the first game, and I bought peanuts. So
A peanut.
So now it's all greased up with peanut fat and everything.
yeah, I'm
You can
gonna throw it away now.
Yeah, it's one use only. I mean, the
You
next
should
raffle
not throw
is
that
gonna
mat
do one.
away. If anything, you should give it back so we could give it to someone else next raffle.
Like a super greasy peanutty mat, man.
Yeah.
So, but how did you experience the whole commander thing where one does the Maelstrom and one does the Eternal War? How did you experience that?
I loved it, dude. That was the greatest twist to 2v2 ever, and I think you should keep that in. It actually made us build our armies around that, where I had a lot of speed, so that I could take objectives during the game, and my buddy had a lot of staying power in a lot of small units, so he could just stand on objectives in the back and then just wait until the game was over. So I really like that. Yeah.
I thought that was a very. We actually didn't really think about it. I think Michel, because I think we actually switched who did what each game. But
That's fun as well, though. That's fun as well.
it kind of worked out in the end. So
What did you two take though?
yeah, we let's go to our list then. And I played with Michel, and my part was let me think. I brought 30 shooter boys. I bought the warballs with the power claw that dick punches knights.
Yeah.
I brought a weird boy to teleport my boys or my warballs, and also made him a warp head to give him 2 power so he could cast Fist of Gork as well. I brought 2 units of 5 bikers and a good old unit of 12 tank busters in a truck.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did they blow any tanks up?
Oh yeah, they did very well. I was surprised at how well they did actually, because every game they did really well. So I didn't want to bring the Ludas because I didn't want to bring. We made a more competitive list like way before we decided to change it, and it had one of us had the Ludas and the other half had the objective grabbing part. And eventually we said we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do more casual, more fun, just general units that we normally don't bring.
I think you even started with a challenge, right?
Yeah. So, Michel, what did you bring? Because I know you brought a lot of cards, but
yeah. So I really love the new orc buggies. They're awesome. So I had a lot of those. So I brought 2 trike bosses.
Yeah.
And then I had 3 units of 10 Gretchens because you have to fill up those troop slots.
I had those as well, by the way.
Then I had a booster blaster. I had a snaz wagon. And I had a scrapjack.
Oh wait, I had the rocket truck buggy. I forgot. Wait, did I have that?
No, you only had it at the practice game because your bikers weren't there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Man, I wanted.
But we even played one game with the squick buggy. Yeah, that was awesome.
that thing is horrible.
But it's so cool though. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Then I brought the MVP of the tournament. It was a single death trap.
Yeah.
With a claw, saw, and 2 custom mega blasters.
Yeah. That thing is surprisingly good, by the way.
Did
I
you
mean, you
get
had
the name?
as we'll go through the games. We have like two stories where you roll ridiculously lucky, but despite that fact, it's a really good model because it's not very expensive, and it's just one unit that deep strikes in, and it has two custom mega blasters which can do work, especially if you make them death skulls
Death
because you get a
Skulls,
bunch of
which I did.
rerolls. It's really good, and then in combat, it's still really pretty good. It has a fair chance of beating up like a demon prince, like probably
Yeah.
a 50, probably 50-50 or something. But I mean, the thing is really cheap. Yeah,
And then I had two Blitzer bombers.
yeah, those things are gross.
I hate those.
Those things,
We're
those
not
things.
taking competitive.
The games we did win, we probably won for a big part due to the Blitzer bombers because
They are
they just
gross.
They're really good.
Yeah.
And like I took the Blitzer bombers for Caledonian Uprising. I had 3 of those on my list,
Yep.
and like that
Tell me-
list changed a lot of people's opinion on the Blitzer bombers and on the Warbikers on how good they are.
Mhm.
Like of course you in the tournament list you would include the Lutas, though I kind of want to go away from that right now. But
You
the
wanna
Blitzer
drop the
bombers,
Lutas?
Yeah,
they're
I'm
just
thinking about it as well, but that's maybe good for a separate discussion.
yeah.
Yeah,
But the Blitzer bombers with their bombs, yeah, they're just really 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 good. Like, and if
I
your
felt what they
opponent,
do to my bikes, man.
yeah. The
yeah,
thing is, they fly over a unit, right? And then for every model in the unit, you get to roll a die. It's a bomb. So and on the 4-up, you deal a mortal wound. The thing is, a Blitzer bomber has 2 bombs, and it can drop both bombs. In the same movement phase over the same unit. So if the unit's big enough, you can really deal a lot of mortal wounds to that unit. And as we went through our games, it nuked like backfield scoring units for us, just blew them up or flew over big blobs of things and then just took a big chunk out of that. I mean, poor Gerard's
yeah.
Grey Knight blob was just
Oh.
nuked instantly. So let's go into the first game then, because our first game was with Gerard, and Gerard brought his son. What was his son's name again?
Nathan.
Nathan. There we go.
So
Yeah.
Gerard is a fellow Dutch ETC player. He's a former captain of the Dutch ETC team. And then as we were writing our lists for the tournament. At one point, I was hearing some things that people were bringing, like six broadsides and a Castellan and some other shooting knives and stuff. And I just had this feeling like, do I really want to go into all of that in the doubles tournament? So that's when Stefan and I decided, you know what, we're just going to bring a really fun list, and we're going to give 3 opponents 3 really cool games. And then Gerard, he posted up, and he said, hey, you guys, I'm going to come with my son to this tournament. He's 9-year-old. It's going to be his first tournament. He's only played a couple of games. Who wants to play against us and, give him a good experience, not just curb stomp the baby seal. as it is.
You should have challenged them and then cursed on the baby still.
Yeah, but I don't think you'd be good enough for that, Faiz.
No. That's why I'm saying
the baby
you should
seal
have
would
done
have gift you, though.
it. Yeah, of course.
The
But
baby
that's why
still
I'm
with his
saying
one
you should have
tooth.
Yeah, one tooth, but it hits the artery and you just bleed to death, and it's terrible.
It'll be horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but so he issued the challenge, and then so for me it was kind of difficult at first because I usually am a very competitive player, and instantly inside me there's that, I'm bringing a shitty list, but I kind of want to challenge myself into making sure that whoever plays me, still is going to get a very tough time or is going to get beaten by an inferior list. I like doing that if I have a chance. But if we play against them, we won't have that opportunity, because with the lines open, if you play a challenge game, both players immediately get 0 points for that game.
Yep.
which I think in rounds 2 and 3 or 4 and 5, depending on the tournament, is good. But I think that they should still allow first round challenges to be regular games. But nonetheless, that's not diverting. That discussion went on in my head for like 30 seconds. And then I said, you know what, fuck it. Because the previous 2v2, I took my wife. And we played some challenges and we had a blast. So it's like, let's just do this. Let's make sure that they have an awesome game. So I posted, I'm fine with playing you guys if Stefan is also fine with it. And of course, Stefan would be fine with it.
Which I was,
so,
of course.
Which he was.
Yeah.
And so we played against them.
Yeah. They brought a Grey Knight list. So he had his son with him. And they both brought Grey Knights and some Death Watch. Or at least I think Nathan had Death Watch.
Nathan had Death Watch and Gerard had Grey Knights.
Yeah. So it was, of course, a very, not competitive list. And that's fine. He was with his son to first tournament, first experience, give him a good time. And, good times ensued the first round, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So before the first round, Gerard, he went to me. And he was like, I I know you guys, I know you're good, but whatever you do, please just don't kill all Nathan's models in the first turn. And
Gerard was begging us.
We were like, we were both laughing, oh, Gerard, you're such a fool. We're not going to kill any of Nathan's models. It's only you we're after.
Yeah.
Which we did.
And then you killed all of G's models, or not?
Yeah. Look, there was this particular. Like what I said with the Blitz and Bombers earlier. So Nathan and Gerard had the first turn. We gave them the first turn because look, even if our army isn't very competitive and doesn't have Ludas, it still has quite some firepower with the bombers and the the tank busters. That if we did take first turn, we'd probably blow up a bunch of stuff, and that's not the kind of game we wanted to give them. So first turn to Nathan and Gerard, and Gerard, he teleported up like 10 Grey Knights or something with his
in front of the plane.
In front of the planes, and one plane even. And so they shot stuff and they did kill some stuff. But then our first turn came, and one plane flew over the 10 Grey Knights, and then after it was done flying over them, and the mushroom-shaped cloud dissipated. There were like
2 or 3 Grey Knights left.
There were 2 Grey Knights left, and that just again illustrates how vulnerable Space Marines actually are. And Grey Knights are quite a bit more expensive than your regular Space Marine. So that the hurt was visibly showing on Gerard's face. He's like, "Yep, that happened." And the game went on. We did have a very cool game, where there was a lot of mutual destruction, and surprisingly, his son did very well because I think even at the end of the game, he was the only one with models left, and I think that was a very very much a part of his tactical play where Gerard, I think, was just dropping the ball a lot, just dying left and right, just I don't know, making poor decisions.
Yeah. Let's just say Gerard was really, really horrible that game.
So what we're saying is
he didn't buy his son an orc army.
Yeah, that was his first mistake.
That was his first mistake, and Nathan corrected him on that during the day because he realized how awesome orcs are. So that was really good, and that just Gerard failed saves. Or he lost models where he didn't even had any saves. Who does that?
Yeah,
ridiculous. Nathan just did really well.
But what you're saying is that Nathan should be ETC captain for the Dutch, right?
Or at least take Gerard's place.
Yeah, I think so.
At least take Gerard's place because
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Nathan, his son, he did things which Gerard hasn't even ever considered in his life. Like charging,
charging models. Yes,
combat
very
saves.
surprised.
I mean, you could see the utter confusion on Gerard's face when Nathan said, "Let's go into combat."
Let's go into
But
combat.
And G is like, "What is combat?
What is combat? I only know G though." No, we're trolling G a bit, but what they did was great.
Yeah.
And then I also must say, because Nathan really enjoyed the game against us. He came over to our table a couple of times later during the games and everything to just chat with us, look at the orcs, which he thought were really cool, and have some fun. But
you
here's
guys
where it
paint
comes.
like dots as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Like
But here's where it comes. I've won a lot of things in competitive 40k. I've won sportsmanship, a lot of first places, best painted army. I've been ETC captain for a couple of years. Played quite some ETCs. And
Getting a little
that's all
crowded here,
awesome.
Faiz. Getting a little
Yeah, yeah.
crowded here, Faiz.
Yeah.
That's
we have
all
to
awesome.
Scooch
But
over.
Here's what's
ego.
got my greatest compliment in playing 40k
Is that
was
you
when
finally didn't
Gerard
smell?
texted me and he said, we were sitting in the car and my son said, this was the greatest day I ever had, and the best game was the one which we technically lost against those two orc players. Like that was just that's such
so
an
cute.
amazing
That's so nice,
compliment. You know, when
Yeah,
you realize that you've been able to do that for someone that young and that new into the game on a tournament. That's just awesome. That's more than winning a GT. At least for me, it was.
We also took
Do
an
you,
awesome
do you
picture.
reckon? Do you reckon we should try to get more kids into like the tournaments, like kid
Definitely.
tournaments? Or
Yeah,
something?
definitely. That's actually a very good
Maybe
idea.
pure kit tournaments is going to be difficult, but like with a doubles tournament, I would say that if you have someone who's not that good, or you want to bring your child or something like that, just do it. You know,
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
do it. Write it up. Make sure challenge before, so you're playing against people with the right mentality and give them that experience. You know, because like when you look at it, 40k, it's a hobby, and maybe for some people it's even kind of a lifestyle, I suppose.
For me,
Yeah,
It's
but
an addiction, I think.
but what do you do? So you have to read things in English. You have to plan. You have to think about things. You have to
do a little bit of
time in the creative aspects of that hobby, and
Yep.
then you have to socialize and play against other people, and you don't always win, unlike with a video game where you always win. So I think that for children,
Kind of
it's
depends
actually-
on the video game, but go on.
Yeah, no, but like when you're playing against a computer, you know, or single player, you always win. You always beat the game. So
Hello, you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Faiz.
I was just.
so I think that doing that is really good, because there's like for young children, there's so much aspects where on a hobby where you develop yourself. So yeah, I think that would be great, and I think it's also great for people to just, you know, bring new players or bring young players or bring your child, whatever. It doesn't matter, you know. Learning that you can't always win is good.
It's a very good
And
value to
dealing
learn.
with other people and stuff like that, and then just in
Yeah.
that awesome universe, you know, and I think that's really good.
Yep, I happen to agree. There are, you know, playing a tournament really teaches you a lot of things, to be sociable. Yeah, like you said, you have to think ahead. So it's a good skill to learn. But especially what you said, like a grown child learns to be sociable. He learns that he'll win and lose games, and you know he'll have to deal with that. And I think it helps to learn to deal with losses in a good way, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a very, very good thing to do. And especially Heroes and Heretics tournaments are a great environment for that, because it's a more casual setting, and so it's less competitive. I wouldn't recommend taking your kid to a actual, you know, competitive tournament at that age, or maybe he's really good and curb stomps everyone. I mean, that might happen as well. I know a few players that started very early on and did very well. But let's go to our second game, because our second game was against.
Breda, guys, I think, right?
What did you say, Faiz? I'm sorry.
You played against Breda, guys, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, Thomas Lambrecht and I believe Jeremy.
Yeah, Thomas and Jeremy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great bunch of guys as well.
Yeah, were they fun? Was it a fun game?
Yeah, they were very,
Nice.
very relaxed, very cool guys. Very, very, very easy game. They brought Nurgle and Adeptus Mechanicus. So a very, very, very casual list as well. And they even said like, hey guys, we this is one of our first tournaments. Can you take it easy? It's like we were like, nah, don't worry, we're here for fun as well. And so we played a very casual game. We I honestly forgot. Did we win the game? I think we did, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
you
won
did.
20-0.
Ah, there you go.
But yeah, so one of the things which it shows that it also showed the day before, during the day, that there's a difference between new and hobby players and experienced tournament players. Like a lot of the hobby players, they haven't even fully read the rules pack or the mission pack, and they make mistakes with their army. And I think that now sometimes we've reached a point where we're publicly crucifying players for making mistakes with the army. But I think that's not right, because when you look at how vast and immense all the rules and all the things are you have to take into consideration, I think that tournament, like I think 70% of the players did not play all the missions right, just because they made some mistakes in how they interpreted that the mission should be played.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the the team format, it does create for a few wonky situations in game
Yeah,
where normally
it
you wouldn't
adds a
have.
lot of complexity.
Yeah.
So that's fine. And then at the first turn, they wanted to play the Nurgle stratagem, which says that you make 1 unit of poxwalkers, counters, basically. So
Yeah.
they can be targeted as they're the closest target.
Yeah.
But their interpretation of the stratagem was that if you play that stratagem, you can't target any of their units as long as there are poxwalkers in front of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they
like
read it
the
wrong.
ultimate screening unit.
Oh.
So they said that, and I was like, no, that's not how the stratagem works.
Yeah. Look, that's fine, right? There was no.
That's fine. That's just one of those cases where they didn't do that because they wanted to gain that advantage or something like that. It's just an honest mistake.
Yeah,
Like, no,
genuine.
that's fine. Do you want to do something different with your deployment, because now you know that, and from that moment on, the game just instantly relaxed a lot more. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, but I think that they split their armies a bit too much, which allowed us board control of 3/4 of the table.
Yeah,
So they dropped behind, very, like, damage was going across equally, but they were still pressed in that corner the entire game.
Yep. Yeah, they were killing a lot of buggies. I mean, and
They were killing stuff, but we were just, we were constantly scoring and they weren't, and that's where they lost the game. At the end, it was that decisive.
I mean, one thing I did find during this tournament is that we obviously brought a very casual list, but it still worked pretty well. I mean, it still showed how orcs can still be powerful. I mean, granted, we didn't play against any very competitive lists, but it was still pretty powerful. I mean, especially for me, the Ludas, not the Ludas, the Tank Busters, really showed how powerful they can be.
Yeah, but that shows how many powerful tools the orcs have in their codex, I think.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of, I think what unit is more brings more bang for your buck. Exactly. It gets down to that. But I mean, the tank busters, every game they blew stuff up like it was nobody's business. They pointed their rockets at something and it basically died. Because you do your Luda shenanigans on them, so you'd give them the Mordaka, so they always hit on 5+s, and of course, being tank busters, they can re-roll if their target is a vehicle. So they really blew stuff up. It was pretty good. And those buggies, man, those go everywhere, and they are pretty cheap, and still provide like pretty decent firepower. And they just stand up objectives.
I think that what makes those units excel is the Dead Skulls clan culture, which says that whenever a unit with this culture makes an attack in whatever phase, it gets to reroll one to hit, one to wound, and 1 damage dice. So, like, if you use that on a unit of 25 Lutas, that's not going to matter that much. But when you all of a sudden have a lot of smaller units with kind of decent firepower, all of a sudden re-rolling one fail to hit, re-rolling one fail to wound, and re-rolling one damage dice, it just really improves that unit a lot.
All right, so Faiz had to leave us. We were going on a tad longer than we expected, and he had to go, go about his daily business. So Faiz left the building. And it's just you and me now, Michel, the hardcore, the orky core, as it should be.
Yeah, it's the green heart. You know,
the green heart of this Blue Alliance Open podcast. So we were talking about the second game. Let's go. In summary, it was a great game. We won, but we had, there were two very relaxed guys. They were a little nervous because it was the first game, and they were kind of nervous about if they would, encounter hardcore players. I hope we gave them a good game. I feel like we gave them a good game.
They commented on the Alliance Open Facebook page that they really enjoyed playing against us.
All right, well, and we very much enjoyed playing against you guys. So certainly we hope to see you at our future events. That being said, let's go to our third and final game, which was against Jacob? No,
Yannick,
you know these guys. Yannick, there you go.
Yeah, Yannick. There were two players from where I live. They usually play in Maastricht. And Kevin, Yannick and Kevin.
Yeah.
They played Atmac Knights with Nurgle Demons combination. But so the game against them. Well, first of all, playing 2 versus 2 is a lot more demanding than playing a single game, because all of a sudden you're playing with 3 people instead of 1.
Yep. Yeah.
So your attention gets split a lot, and you could see at the start of the third round that everybody was feeling that fatigue.
Yeah,
a bit.
Everybody was sitting down. We weren't standing up
sitting
so much
down more. We were okay. We were still acting like idiots, but not so much as the previous games.
Nope. It was definitely a dip in energy.
Our war energy also depleted a bit.
Yep.
But okay, so we started that game. They went first. I believe we gave them the first turn.
Yeah, I think we did. We did. Yeah. We didn't have any game where we had first turn, nor did we want to have first turn.
No, it's like we like, especially how those missions work, being able to respond to what your opponent does, and being able to always have the closing initiative of the game is really important. So especially if you can take that turn 1 damage, like I knew that they would advance upon us, so that if they went first, for me, it would mean that we would have an easier chance on capitalizing on their mistakes. We would have more room on the board than to do things with our forces, which are also quite mobile.
Yep.
And we would have that closing initiative in the game.
Yep.
So we gave them the first turn. They did advance upon us. They killed 1 bomber and some small, less significant things.
Yeah, so, they had a very lackluster first turn, if I remember correctly, because the knight with the Gatling gun didn't do much.
It killed the bomber. Like, they shot the.
Oh yeah,
they shot the
Halverins at it as well.
At the planes, and then they shot the knight at the planes, and they wounded 1 knight, and they 1 bomber, and they killed another.
Yeah, that's true. They killed a bomber, which is not very significant. I mean, those bombers are, whenever you lose one, it's a shame, because you know what they're capable of. But losing 1 knight,
especially against those large blobs of plague bearers, the bombs are really nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, they had the right target in mind, but okay, so they advanced up. They took the objectives, but then they allowed for vulnerabilities. So we capitalized on that, and then I thought, okay, you know what? If I just shove 1 war boss forward, I'm going to lure their combat knight in that. But then that 1 knight would overextend in our army. And with the knights gone, with all our speedy firepower buggies, those dealing with those plague bearers would be very easy for us.
Yeah, that we
So
whittled
the
them
second,
down pretty quickly.
yeah. So the second turn they did, they overextended. The knight killed the war boss, of course,
Yeah,
and then the knight got killed in return, and they made so much room in the deployment zone that we could deep strike the Death Dread and the war boss behind them, and all of a sudden they were fighting on all fronts, and all they had left were 2 units of plague bearers.
yeah, yeah.
And the center unit was withered down, and 1 unit had to deploy in one of the corners. So again, we had 3/4 of the table,
Yeah,
and
this
they
army
only
was
held
very-
one. So we were starting to do really well on the mission again, and I think that that overextension was what costed them the game. So yeah, that was. But all in all, it was a very fun day.
Yeah, we managed to end. Actually, I did want to mention it. We managed out of 61 teams, we managed to end 26th in place, and all things considered, I'm pretty happy with that because we played one challenge game where you didn't score any points.
We took a 20-point hit, and we still managed to do that. So that was but it's like I had the same at the GT where I just it was a few days before the orc release, so they extended the date for that. And I just said, you know what, I just want to bring all the new stuff and then see how I can do. And I managed to finish 12th at the GT with a really, really mediocre army.
Yeah. That's a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it was a great day. I mean, for those of you who've never been there, it's at the Schiphol airport. We rent a very big conference hall. It's all very pretty.
Van der Valk.
Van der Valk. Yeah, Van der Valk Hotel at Hoofddorp on the A4. Very accessible if you come from Schiphol because you just take one bus and then within it's like
the bus ride from Schiphol to the hotel is free.
Yep. It's exactly. You don't have to pay. It's a shuttle, so it takes 10 minutes and then you're there. You
could also just spend the night before the tournament. I did. It's very relaxed. It's not too expensive. The hotel rooms are really nice, like 4 or 5 star hotel room qualities if you would go on a vacation.
Exactly. Yeah, the rooms are very, very nice, very very spacious, pretty big. The bed's really comfortable. The pillow, very comfortable.
Everything's in the staff. Oh, this I do want. As we close, I want to give a shout out to Van der Valk Hotel because here's what happened. I booked my hotel room, and I made a mistake with the date. So instead of Friday night, I booked my room on Thursday night, which we didn't find out until we came Friday evening to check in for a room. Now I will give you this. Any other hotel you would have gone to, they would have just say, no, you booked the room for the other night, it's a no-show, you have to pay a fee. The Van der Valk hotel staff immediately gave me a room. They had to do some shenanigans how to book it, but they didn't charge me anything for that, which is just tremendous service.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah. So Van der Valk, like their staff, they're really friendly. Their policy is really good. The rooms are really nice, and that's just that's amazing. Like when something's bad, people say, but when something's good, you should also say it. That was really, really, really good. So if you're considering it, just do it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. I mean, it does put another price tag on your tournament, so not everybody would be willing to do it. I spent the night as well from Friday to Saturday. It was 70 euros, I believe, 75 euros, and that was including the buffet, I believe, because the breakfast buffet.
I did it with my wife, and we had to pay 95 euros for the room and breakfast for 2 people.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
the breakfast, it's a continental breakfast buffet, like. It doesn't matter what you want to eat, you'll find it there.
It's a very good breakfast buffet.
Yeah, it's value for money. So
I happen to agree. I think it's you wake up very relaxed and then you go to your tournament and it isn't the thing where you have to wake up very early from wherever you come from and then take the public transport of the car and you have to drive for an hour to Amsterdam. I think it's a very relaxed way of starting your tournament, and I do it every time, and I would recommend anyone who is willing to pay for it to do it. I think
Yeah,
it
like
really adds.
if you have the money and if you have to travel a lot, just get the room. It's so much more
Yeah,
relaxed.
usually, we have a tournaments on Saturday, on Sunday, and usually the day before we're setting up, but then the evening when we're done setting up, everybody is basically welcome to spend the evening just playing some casual games there. So we did have a few players. We actually ourselves played a casual game the night before, and
Yeah,
after that you can just get a drink or retire to your room and start the tournament next day. It's a great way of starting.
fresh in the morning. And if you're struggling, if your wife is like, oh, you're away for all those weekends, you just take
Just
her and just say like, yeah, if you don't want, if you don't enjoy the tournament, I can imagine that not everybody does.
yeah.
Just go do some shopping and some drinking in Amsterdam after the tournament, have some dinner, and then drive home, and just make it a relaxed weekend. It's
Yeah, you could go. You could go if you're not playing the tournament itself. You could go into the city. It's not far ways from the
no,
Honeypot Hotel.
again, the transportation is free.
Yep.
Like you can take the shuttle to Schiphol, and from Schiphol you can take any transportation you want into the center of Amsterdam for like a few bucks. It's 24 hours transportation is available. So yeah, it's uh,
Yep.
it's a really nice opportunity to combine some things in one weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the tournament itself, of course, just a few things to promote our tournaments. Not only the Heroes and Heretics.
Oh no, they have something great coming up.
Yeah, but also all the other tournaments provide you with a hot and cold buffet. And when we say hot and cold, it's really good, you guys. I mean, it's everything you want. It's the hot part. It's like all different kinds of meat, like potatoes,
Yeah, like
fries,
the lunch,
fast food. Then you
it's
have your salads, fish, cold.
salads, like a lot of things. The fresh bread, coffee, cappuccino, fresh orange juice,
Yeah.
water bottles. It's all included in that
Yep.
lunch.
And we
It's like
recently we used to do it in the hall next to our hall, so an other conference hall where they would set up the buffet. But with the Heroes and Heretics, for the first time, we actually moved back up to the restaurant. So you actually, yeah, you sit in the actual restaurant, so you feel like you're not being stowed away in another conference hall. It's really nice to sit there, and with that, the choice of foods really expanded. So it's really
yeah,
a quality buffet.
it was really good. It was really good.
And of course,
And
the
again, the Van der Valk staff, they really you could see, especially during the lunch, that they really tried to make sure that like every plate of choice, every choice in the buffet, it was constantly stacked. They were running around. They were resupplying water bottles, and
yeah,
there's like 130 people coming in at once. And if you've ever waitered in your life as a job, you know how stressful that gets. But they were working with like 5 or 6 at the hall from their staff, and they had to manage all that all at once. It's just this invasion of hungry war gamers, just like
yeah.
wow, going to the
Nerds.
buffet. They all want to drink and eat everything at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
It's Black Friday all over again. Brace yourselves. No, but they did that really well as well.
yeah.
So
I think they handled it very
so
well as
and if you imagine that for the 2 versus 2 tournament, you basically paid 25 euros per person, and
yes,
that lunch is included.
yes.
Come on, that tournament is almost for free.
Yeah, that's true. It was a very good
Yeah,
price for what you were offered. It was three
yeah,
rounds of a tournament. There was very good price support because there was first place, second place, and if I'm not mistaken, third place price support. Like with first place being like 60 euros.
they had prize support for best painted army. They had prize support for most sporting team, and then they had prize support for places 1, 2, and 3. They
Yeah,
had a store there which sponsors at Tabletop Kingdoms, which was offering discounts, which is also nice because whenever you go to a tournament and you just see some models you like, because you always see models you like, that's just part of the hobby curse.
yep,
So it's always nice to buy a model at the tournament, and when you paint it and put it together, no matter what, every game you play, you will still remember that tournament kind of because of that.
Yeah, that's a very nice way to remember tournaments. And
Yeah.
we had you already mentioned indeed painting prize sports. You know, pretty cool trophies for everyone. We had the raffle where you for a
Yeah, the
few
raffle
bucks
was fun.
you could buy tickets, and like Faiz already mentioned, he paid $10 for a new game mat. I mean, $10 for a game mat, right? That was
Yeah, that's a sweet deal.
that's a deal I'd take any day of the week.
I'm going to say that I was hoping I would win the Battle Force raffle so I could give Nathan an orc an orc Battle Force. I was hoping that all along. Come on, God, please. But
Give him.
unfortunately, I didn't. So now G has to dig in his wallet.
We could
And,
send him
and
like anonymous gifts every now and then.
yeah, we can. A random Gretchen.
From Santa Org.
Santa orc. I have actually the Santa Gretchen.
Yeah, there you go. Some from good old Santa Gretchen sending you some shinies.
Yeah, he has a bag of bobs. Ho ho ho, boom.
Exactly. Well, that's wrapping up the Heroes and Heretics event. We all had a blast. Before we close out the show, I'd like to mention a few upcoming events. We have
this is where the goal is. The no surrender.
The no surrender. But before that, actually, I did also want to mention that the 10th of March will be the AO qualifier tournament, the Feast of Blades in Eindhoven. Being run by Ruud, one of our regular tournament attendees, which is going to be a 2K 3-round tournament.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a qualifier for one of our tournaments. So definitely, I do believe all tickets already have been sold. Yeah.
All tickets. I know that Kevin from Maastricht had to drop out, so one ticket came back yesterday, but I don't know if it's already been reverted or if it's still out there. So if you're interested, grab it.
Exactly. If you it's kind of full right now, but you can always sign up, guys, and be one of the backup players. So when one player drops out, you could play, and if you win, you get a free ticket to our 30th of March No Surrender tournament, which is a 1,750 point single codex, so no souping allowed.
You got a free GT ticket, right?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I misspoke. The qualifier ticket is actually for the GT later on in the year. So I misspoke.
So
you are correct.
That's a €50 ticket, and then you get regular price support for the tournament.
Yeah, and the great lunch.
And the great lunch.
So you could take that €50 you'd normally have to spend and then put it in the pool for your hotel room and have like the full experience.
Yeah. You like at the 2-day tournament, I would definitely recommend getting the room.
Yes.
Then upcoming also the 30th of March,
the No Surrender tournament.
No Surrender tournament, and now this I think is really good for those players who aren't that tournament experience. It's single faction. So it's not just single codex, no, it's single sub faction. So all that combining and cheesing and mixing and conniving and everything, that's gone.
Yes.
1,750 points, single faction, just one force, make an army. All the restrictions there. There's no fortifications, no nonsense of that. And just have some awesome games.
Yeah.
So if you're an experienced player, I think you will really enjoy it because some of the nonsense combos are out of it.
Yeah.
So it's more of a pure game, and if you're a new player, you would enjoy it even more because the games tend to be more on the in-game decisions based than on the list building. So you're going to have more interesting games even than on a regular 2K tournament because the games are going to.
Definitely, because for me personally, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with souping and all the combining of different factions. But for me, I've always liked the single faction games more because it adds a bit more.
Like every list you make, if you take a single faction, that's going to have some things where it excels at and some things where it struggles at.
Exactly.
And it's up to the player to overcome them. But then if you are able to soup up or combine, you can just say, oh, this really excels at this. This really
Yeah.
excels at that. You just take all those, and then you have all your eggs in all your baskets.
Yes, exactly.
And
That's really
now you don't.
Nope. It's really the issue I pretty much have with the souping. You have armies that naturally have strengths and weaknesses, and that adds a bit of charm for me to the game. And with the souping, you just take it right out of it, because whenever you have a weakness and you can ally yourself with something that doesn't have that weakness, you could supplement, and you can create armies that virtually have no weaknesses, and that isn't really a good thing. So definitely for those people who really enjoy those types of games where you just run a single faction, go to 30th of March, no surrender. Also being held there will be the Age of Sigmar tournament, a Age of Sigmar Underworlds tournament, and a Killteam tournament. So for people who enjoy these specialist games, definitely keep that date in mind, because that will be the date where those specialist games will be held. And those will be a lot of fun as well. And personally, talk a lot with the organizer for the Killteam, and it's really shaping up. But also the other specialist games are going to be a good amount of fun. So definitely, if you play those games, take a look to visit those. And then at the 25th of May, we will have the Allied Annihilation Tournament, which is going to be a team tournament, an actual team tournament of 4 players per team. It's a 2K 3-round tournament, pretty much akin to the ETC style of play, where you also take your team there. I've never been there, but you are the captain of the Dutch ETC team, so you should know what that's like.
Yeah, I do.
And
So yeah, that's also going to be really great, because now you play as a team against another team. So it doesn't really matter what you score as long as your team wins. Now there are some restrictions in that, what you can take. Just go over the rules pack. Make a team with 4 of your buddies, and then you get to pitch against each other, against the other team, who plays who. So how that works at the ETC is you choose one of your players, and then they can choose 2 of their players from their 4. They put them against him, and then you choose against which of those 2 you want to play. And then it reverses, and then for the last game, the last 2 players get auto placed, which does add some tactical elements. So for those players who are competitive, it's really interesting. And it's really not the same as playing a single game, I can tell you that. It adds a whole new dimension to it. And for those players who just want to play with a group of guys, it's also really fun, because all of a sudden, it's not that I get 0 or 20 points, but as a team, how many of those 80 possible points did we get? And you might lose a game, but losing 15-5 or losing 20-0 could mean the difference between your team winning or your team losing. So all of a sudden, everything you do really matters for everybody. So it's really cool. So I do recommend it. And of course, all the other great things from Alliance Open are there. So,
yep, you have your standard organization, prize support, great lunch, and great bunch of people, great atmosphere.
Yeah, and the quality of the tables and everything, and the space.
Yeah.
Like you have so much space around the tables. It's really the best tournament setup I've been at, and I've been at quite a lot. Yeah,
definitely. We also have the Dutch Grand Tournament for the 9th Age going on at the same date and same place, which is the old school Warhammer Fantasy Battles game, which people, Warhammer Fantasy Battles turn into Age of Sigmar, but there's also a pretty big group in the Netherlands and in Europe that still plays what is now called the 9th Age, which is a fantasy thing, which my roots actually lie in fantasy. I later transitioned to 40k, but old fantasy is still very much alive and still a very great game to play. So if you are looking to go to a tournament, definitely check that out. Then the 28th of September, there will be the Alliance Open Rogue Trader Tournament, which is going to be a 40k 2k tournament, runner-up to the Dutch tournament later on. And also there will be a I already mentioned the fantasy tournament. And then the 15th of November, there will be the flagship, the big, already international Alliance Open 40k Dutch Grand Tournament, where people from abroad will come and duke it out.
Just doesn't matter what's going on. Just make sure you got a ticket. Be there.
Those tickets will go fast.
Yeah, those tickets will go really fast. Like we've had people from the UK, we have people from Scotland, people from Germany, from Belgium, from France, from Sweden.
Yes.
Coming in. So it's really going to be that international experience. I think that it'll sell out really, really, really fast. So make sure you get those tickets for that tournament. You want to be there.
And those tickets you can get at our Facebook, not our Facebook page, our webpage, alliancearmory.net. You can buy those tickets there. As Misha said, they will go fast. So if you want to go, do be quick. You can also always check our Facebook page, Alliance Open, to check out these events and chat along with the people that are chatting in there, and to keep up to date with our, goings-ons and things to come. Also did want to mention that a few of these tournaments will be streamed on live. Definitely the Dutch Grand Tournament will be streamed live. We will do that on Twitch, which is Alliance Open. So if you can't attend the game yourself, but do want to check it out, do check out Twitch. Subscribe to our Twitch channel. We also have our YouTube channel, which is fairly new, but everything, video-wise we make, we also put on there, and which is the Alliance Open YouTube page. Definitely go take a look there. We always have our pre-tournament mission briefing videos, which seem to be very popular, which are a fun way to brief yourselves on the missions and how they work, and what to pay attention to, and those will be on the YouTube channel as well. So subscribe, check it all out, you guys. And look, Michel, it's been very fun. Thank you for thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Faiz, you're not here anywhere, but also thank you for being on that podcast.
Faiz was also here, you guys. Faiz was also here.
If we didn't have Faiz, man, we wouldn't have Cashew Nuts. We wouldn't have Hobo, Matt Suits.
We would miss out on all of it. Like you always gotta include some Faiz.
You have to sprinkle in some Faiz seasoning, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise
Faiz glitter.
It's just little Faiz couscous, and brighten up your day.
Yeah.
We joke, but Faiz, you're a great guy. We love you.
Yeah, exactly.
We've come to the end of our podcast, guys. Did want to before we definitely wrap it up, did want to do one more, put one more message out to you guys. We already mentioned it during the Heroes and Heretics segment. We do want to really emphasize the fact that people really should read the tournament packs. Now, we do realize that Heroes and Heretics is a bit more casual and not everybody does that. But do read those, guys, because we did have a lot of players during the Heroes and Heretics event that didn't have their painting up to snuff, and it was quite a few people actually, and we were very lenient this time. But the tournament organization has already said, like, look, we put out certain standards. Whenever people come to a tournament, they pay a pretty penny. Look, it's not very expensive, but they do pay money, and we expect people to have painted armies. And next time, when your army does not live up to the minimum standards of our tournament pack rules for army painting, basing, and so on and so forth, we will remove those models from the table. We didn't do that during the Heroes and Heretics because it was a lot of people and realized it were casual people and didn't want to give a shock to your first experience. So that's why we were a little lenient. But next time we will definitely remove those models. So please, guys, for your own.
Also, like for all those wargamers, we all have a lot of models, and a lot of those are unpainted, and they're almost like they're never getting done. And all of a sudden you have that tournament and everything you bring has to be painted up. like not just undercoated, but really painted up and based. And that's just a great way of getting your models and your armies painted also for future games. So
Exactly.
take the positive from that. It's just an extra excitement to get your models and your armies painted, and painted models always perform better than unpainted models.
It's true.
So
It's true.
Just get it done.
It's not superstition. It really is true. So,
Yeah.
with that final notification being said, thanks for listening to our podcast. Do tune in next time, and where we'll have different, very interesting discussions. See you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.